My brother's fiancée falsely accused me of hitting on her. My brother texted, "Stay away from us." I replied, "Done." Then I withdrew my name as guarantor for their new house mortgage. Now their loan has been denied. I'm 32. And I was the family's designated adult. You know the one. The one who gets the 11 p.m. call for a ride, the one who helps move the heavy furniture, the one who co-signs things. It's not a role you ask for, you just fall into it. My brother, Ryan, he's 29. He's the charming one, the guy who lives life on impulse and worries about the details later. And his fiancée, Cynthia? She's his perfect match. Intense, charismatic, and completely obsessed with curating their perfect life on social media. Now, I never truly warmed to Cynthia. She had this way of complimenting you that just felt like a slap. It's so amazing that you're so stable and practical, and her smile never quite reached her eyes. It was her constant, subtle way of reminding me she found my life boring. But Ryan was madly in love. So I kept my mouth shut. 3 months ago, they found their dream house. A sleek, modern new build in a neighborhood they couldn't possibly afford. Predictably, their income wasn't enough to get the mortgage. And that's when Ryan sat me down for the biggest ask of my life. He needed me to be the guarantor. It was a hell of a risk. I mean, we're talking about a significant mortgage that would hang over my head for the next 30 years. I love my brother, but I'm not an idiot. I told him I needed to think about it. The very first thing I did was spend a few $100 to have a lawyer look over the paperwork. The lawyer told me the bank's agreement was standard stuff, but then he gave me a piece of advice. He said, "When you're mixing family and large sums of money, it's smart to have a separate personal agreement, just to keep things clear." So he drafted this simple one-page document for me. It had 2 key things. 1, if they ever defaulted, I had the option to take over their equity for the amount I paid. And 2, he added a clause that he called his CYA special. Cover your ass. It stated that my guarantee was contingent on a relationship of mutual respect and good faith, and that any act of defamation or malicious falsehood would be grounds for my immediate withdrawal. At the time, it felt like ridiculous overkill, a formality. I presented it to Ryan. He barely even glanced at it. "Yeah, man, of course, we're brothers. Good faith is a given." We both signed it in front of a notary. I filed it away, felt secure. The bank approved the loan, and Ryan and Cynthia, they were over the moon. Fast forward to a family barbecue last weekend. I'm making small talk with some cousins. Cynthia comes over, maybe a little tipsy, and stands unnecessarily close. She puts a hand on my forearm. "You're always so serious," she says. "You should try to have some fun." It was classic Cynthia, a little patronizing, a little too intimate. It made me uncomfortable, so I just made an excuse about needing a drink and walked away. I didn't give it a second thought. Then, 2 days ago, my phone just blew up. It was a novel-length text from Ryan, just this furious, rambling tirade. Apparently, Cynthia had broken down in tears. She confessed that I'd been making her uncomfortable for months, and the barbecue, she claimed, was the final straw. She told him I'd cornered her, whispered that she was too good for him, and that she should be with a real man who could actually provide for her. The accusations were so specific, so venomous, it felt like a punch to the gut. This wasn't some misunderstanding, this was a targeted assassination. And suddenly it all clicked. For months, Cynthia had been making these little comments to Ryan about how I was judgmental of their finances, how I was too involved. She was laying the groundwork. I tried calling Ryan, no answer. Called again, straight to voicemail. And then the final message came through. "Ryan, I can't believe you do this. To us, Cynthia's a wreck. Just stay away from us." He was so certain, so completely convinced. And just like that, after 32 years, my brother was gone. A strange calm settled over me. It wasn't rage, it was acceptance, clarity. Cynthia didn't just want distance, she wanted me erased, but she still wanted my financial backing. She wanted the house without ever having to see the guy who secured it for them at family Christmas. I sat there for a long time. Then I picked up my phone. Me, done. My next call was to the mortgage advisor at the bank. I was polite, direct. "Due to a significant and unforeseen personal conflict, I am formally withdrawing my name as guarantor for the loan for Ryan and Cynthia." There was this stunned silence on the other end. "Sir," the advisor said, very carefully, "I have to inform you that this action will almost certainly lead to the denial of their entire mortgage application. I am aware of the consequences." I hung up, blocked both their numbers, and tried to sleep. Update 1. The quiet lasted for 3 days. I was starting to think the next thing I'd hear would be a formal letter from the bank. Instead, it was a frantic banging on my front door. 10 p.m. I looked through the peephole. It was Ryan. And he looked like he hadn't slept in days. I opened the door and just waited. "What did you do?" His voice was cracking. He barged right past me into my living room. "Exactly what you told me to do," I said, closing the door. "I'm staying away." "The bank called. The loan is denied. They said you pulled out. You torpedoed the whole thing. Why?" I just looked at him. The complete lack of self-awareness. It was staggering. "Are you serious, Ryan? You accuse me of trying to steal your fiancée. You tell me to get out of your life, and you can't figure out why I'd pull a multi-$100,000 guarantee out from under you?" "That was personal stuff," he said, pacing now, running his hands through his hair. "Cynthia was upset. She's sensitive. Maybe she overreacted. You don't ruin someone's future over a fight." "A fight?" "A fight is when we argue about who has to help Dad clean the gutters. This was a character assassination, Ryan, and you co-signed it. Without a single question, you believed her instantly." His phone buzzed. He glanced at it. The screen lit up with Cynthia's name, and I could hear the tinny, frantic sound of her voice from feet away. "Is he fixing it? Tell him he has to call them. Make him fix it." Ryan's face just hardened. The desperation was gone, replaced by this borrowed anger. He hung up. "You have to call the bank," he said. His voice was low, demanding, "Tell them it was a mistake, an emotional reaction. Fix it." "No." The word just hung there in the air between us. "What do you mean, no?" he sputtered, his voice rising. "I mean no. The decision is final. I'm not a light switch, Ryan. You can't flick me on and off whenever you need something. You don't get to treat me like a monster and a bank in the same week. This is me staying away from your finances. This is me being done." He looked at me, and for just a second, I saw the little brother I grew up with. He looked lost, terrified, and then it was gone, replaced by the man Cynthia was shaping him into. "So you're really going to let our dream die? Just like that? Out of spite?" "Your dream became a nightmare for me, Ryan. You guys were the ones who set it on fire. I'm just walking out of the smoke." He left without another word. The next morning, the call from my mom came, right on schedule. "Ryan is devastated. Families are supposed to work through things." I knew what was coming. The guilt trip. But something inside me had hardened. The only part I didn't fully anticipate was the toll on my girlfriend Laura. She's been my rock through this, furious on my behalf, but she's also hurting. She was friends with Ryan, and now mutual friends, people who've only heard Cynthia's twisted version of the story, are texting Laura, asking if she's safe with me. My neat, logical response had created a very real, very messy emotional fallout. And that part sucks. Update 2. The family pressure campaign fizzled out faster than I expected. I had one long, draining call with my parents. I just said, Ryan was given a choice between his brother and a lie, and he chose the lie. My relationship with him, financial or otherwise, is over until he can acknowledge that. They didn't like it, but they heard the finality in my voice. Cynthia, however, she was just getting started. She launched a full-scale smear campaign, spun this whole story to friends, to family, about my growing jealousy and erratic behavior. In her version, she was the victim. Ryan was her brave defender, and I was the bitter, unstable brother who sabotaged their dream home to punish them for their happiness. And she was damn good at it. The number of people who bought it was depressing. Then things escalated. A week ago, a certified letter arrived from a law firm. My stomach just dropped. It was an aggressive letter, demanding I immediately reinstate my guarantee. It claimed my abrupt and malicious withdrawal was, get this, tortious interference with their building contract. It said if I didn't comply, they would pursue legal action to recover their lost deposit and significant emotional damages. For a full day, I was in a quiet panic. They were actually trying to sue me. My clean, decisive action was about to get dragged into a legal mud pit. This was not part of the plan. I sat in my car after work, reading the letter for the 10th time, and I just felt exhausted. The anger was gone. It was replaced by this deep, bone-weary sadness. And I actually thought, just for a minute, about calling the bank. Giving in. Just to make the noise stop. Laura found me like that. She got into the car, took the letter from my hands and read it. "They're bluffing," she said. "They have to be. People don't get to slander you and then sue you for not giving them money." Did they tell their lawyer the whole story? Her question cleared my head. Of course they hadn't. I went home, dug through my files, and I found my copy of the notarized side agreement. The one with the mutual respect and good faith clause. The one Ryan signed without reading. I made a high-quality scan of that signed agreement. I took a screenshot of Ryan's text message, the one telling me to stay away. I circled the date and the timestamp. I put them together into a single PDF. I didn't send it to their lawyer. That would be playing their game on their turf. I attached it to an email and sent it to my parents. The subject line was, "The full story." The email itself was short. "Mom, Dad, you've been asking why I did this. The attached document is a legal agreement Ryan and I both signed. His text message to me, also attached, was a clear violation of the good faith clause. He broke our agreement before I ever called the bank. I didn't do this out of spite. I did it because I was forced to protect myself. I'm sorry you're in the middle of this." I hit send. And then, I waited. Update 3. The silence lasted for 48 hours. Then, my dad called. His tone wasn't angry or disappointed anymore. It was just heavy. "I got your email," he said. "Your mother and I read it. We didn't understand. Why didn't Ryan tell us he signed something like that?" "Because he probably forgot," I said, "and because it proves he was in the wrong." My dad sighed. "He's coming over here tonight. We're going to talk." That talk, as it turns out, was the end of the line for the lies. My father isn't an emotional man, but he is a man of principle. Confronted with his own signature on a document he'd ignored and a text message he couldn't deny sending, Ryan's story just fell apart. He admitted it all. I'd never done anything inappropriate. The whole thing was Cynthia's idea to create some space because she felt I was too controlling with my financial advice. He went along with it. He thought I'd be hurt. We'd have a blow-up, and then things would settle down. But they'd have their space and their house. He never, ever dreamed I would actually pull the plug. The next day, my parents went to their apartment. They had officially lost the house and their deposit. My mom told me the scene was ugly. Cynthia apparently tried to play the victim again, crying about how we were all ganging up on her. And my mom, the one who had pushed so hard for us to work through it, she finally had enough. She didn't deliver some dramatic movie line. She just looked at Cynthia, with tears in her own eyes, and said, "How could you do this to our family? How could you do this to him?" The legal threats evaporated. Ryan and Cynthia are still together, but from what I hear, it's a toxic mess of resentment and blame. They're stuck in their tiny apartment, out a huge chunk of their savings. Their dream is dead. But there are no winners here. This ending isn't neat. My brother and I haven't spoken. I see a picture of him on Facebook sometimes, and he just looks hollowed out. I feel a grim sense of justice, but it's soured by this profound sadness. I took a stand, and I was right to do so, but it cost me my brother. The shrapnel hit other people too. Some cousins, some family friends. They're still firmly on Team Cynthia. Holidays are going to be a nightmare. Laura has had to deal with awkward questions and cut a few people out of her life. It's a wound that won't close cleanly. Last night, a text came through, from a number I didn't recognize. I know it's not enough, but I am sorry for everything. I knew it was Ryan. I stared at the message for a long time. I typed out a reply, then deleted it. Did that 3 more times. In the end, I just put the phone down. I didn't reply. I don't know if I ever will. Some contracts, once they're breached, they can't be fixed, and that's the most logical and the most painful truth of all.